And hello again, and welcome to part 4 of my Kawasaki Z650B restoration project. So here we have the front wheel without its tyre, and here we have a Brembo 4-pot caliper from a Ducati 600 SS that I like to use on the bike to improve the braking. The problem is that when you try and fit it, this old disc here, it doesn't go on the disc because the inside of this caliper is much fatter than the original calipers from 1977, so it doesn't fit. So the answer to that problem is to move the disc out a little bit by fitting a spacer between the disc and the hub, and that's fine, we can do that. The problem I have is that we can't move it too far such that this thing here no longer works. Now this is a speedo drive to the speedo, the cable goes here, so as you move this disc away from the hub, this can't move, so you've got a problem where you might interfere with the routing of the cable and you lose the ability to use your standard speedo, which I don't want to do. So the question is, can we move this disc out far enough to make the caliper fit and yet still retain this original speedo drive? Right, so here we are back at Jeff's workshop. Here's the wheel, here's the caliper, here's the front fork, and what we're going to do is remove this disc and see how far we've got to move it out to get this thing to fit. It's actually a bit better, I think, than the old mag wheels, because I can get it on there now. It will actually go on.
Is it not worth making the bracket to keep the caliper in rather than trying to move that?
Well, the problem is...
It's hitting this, but you've got... right.
It's not hitting this as bad as it was.
So we do need to move it out.
But what I want to do is try and retain this. I don't want to have to remove this thing and fit a dish speedo, which we did with the F2. And I think we've got enough room, because you don't have to move it very far. This is not that far out. I reckon 2 or 3, 4 mil, and then we can still use it.
Yeah, you're going to have to watch the cable though.
Yes, I know. So, but it is angled out slightly, so I think we might be okay.
Have you got, have we got a piece of cable or something we can screw on, because we need to bring it out just to make sure.
I haven't got it here, but we can make a start. We take the disc off and see.
That is the old. That's got the old. Not off the cable, hasn't it?
It's broken. Yeah, we might be able to unscrew that and do something. So let's take the disc off and see how far we have to move the disc out to get this thing on. I'm hoping it won't be very much, but we'll see. We shall see.
You could have undone the bolts.
Well, I'll let you have. Why should I have all the fun? Why should I let you have all the fun? It won't take long. It won't take long.
It won't take long. Famous last words.
Yeah. Right, so we've had a bit of a look, and I think it will work. We need to move this disc out by about 5 or 6 millimeters or so, which happens to be the thickness of the spigot that keeps this disc centralised, which is good, but also bad, because it means, let's just remove that speedo drive. If we remove the disc, you see we've got this spigot here, that makes sure this disc is centralised with the hub. So if we move the disc out that much, we run the risk the disc will no longer be centralised. So what we're going to do is, when we've made a spacer, we will pin it and bolt it to the inside of this disc and put this whole thing on the lathe and spin it up to make sure it is central. That way it's sort of part of this disc, so when we put it on, we know we're still central with the hub. There we go. There is actually plenty of room between the disc and the inside of the fork leg, even when we've moved it out by the appropriate amount, which is great news. That wasn't the case with the F2 we did a similar job with, because the F2 has different forks, I think slightly later forks from a 750, and I guess they're a bit thicker. Also, by the way, the reason why I chose this particular caliper, this particular Brembo caliper, is because these Brembos come in 2 different styles. They have one where these mounting holes are further away, further apart, and this one where they're quite close together. And we want the one where it's close together, because that makes life a lot easier when you make a bracket to mount this to the fork leg. And so with the front wheel, the forks, and that Brembo caliper left with Jeff for the time being, it's now time to move on to the rear wheel. Right, so here goes. There. Oh, I forgot one. One more left. One more thing left here. Okay. One more left. I thought I got that one. And there we go. One old rusty rim removed. So now I can clean up the hub and get it ready. Just nice shiny new spokes and a nice brand new rim. And now, as you can see, I've started to refit the restored parts to the frame. So I fitted the battery box, the coils, the yokes, and of course the instrumentation. Now all the fasteners you can see here are all polished stainless steel, and I've also fitted chrome covers, new chrome covers to the clocks. Now the original bike had a chrome lower cover but just a black upper bezel, but that black upper bezel was looking a bit rusty, a bit tatty, and I didn't really feel like spending the time and the effort taking the clocks apart just to paint them black, so I fitted these chrome covers instead. Now as it turns out, some models of the 650 did have fully chrome clocks, so it's not such a wild thing to do, and I must say I do quite like the look, so that's fine. So next then I've got to carry on fitting all the parts that I've now restored, and I think next though I need to crack on and polish the rear hub. And so to clean up and polish this hub, I'm going to use the old-fashioned way, just wet and dry sandpaper at different grades. The good news is that this central area here, this ribbed area, I'll just clean it with a brush and not worry about trying to make it too polished, because once you've built up the wheel with new spokes, you can't access this area anyway, so there's no point trying to keep it clean. Right, so I'm now going to get busy with my good old wet and dry sandpaper. I'll start off, I think, with this is 240, I think, then go to 400 and 800 and so on until we get a decent finish. And so now I've spent about 2 or 3 hours working on this hub, rubbing down the flanges, trying to get a decent finish and removing all that corrosion. And I've still got plenty more work to do, at least another hour or two, that's for damn sure. And it is very tedious, boring work, but then again, a lot of work you do when you're restoring a bike is tedious and boring work. However, the good news is that I've now ordered the rims for the bike. I'm going for lightweight aluminium rims all the way from Italy, and they should be here in the next few days. So when they arrive, we can start building up at least the rear wheel. However, I can't yet work on the front hub because the wheel is still at Jeff's workshop, where he's working on fitting that 4-pot Brembo caliper to the front end, and that's going okay, and it should be ready by next week. And now I'm going to fit the side stand to the bike, and to do that I've got to use this side stand bolt. But as I say, the devil is in the detail, so rather than using this old rusty thing, I bought myself a brand new polished stainless steel version, and I think that would look a lot nicer on the bike. And now here's the side stand back on the bike with that lovely new stainless steel bolt. Looks much better. And now I'm just fitting this plate which bolts to the side of the electrics box, and this plate holds various electrical components, and of course I'm using new stainless steel fasteners. And next we have the foot pegs. So here we have the foot peg mount, which I've cleaned up and painted, and here's the foot peg itself. And the foot peg mount is mounted to the frame with an M12 fine thread bolt like that, and that's a pretty old rusty bolt. Therefore I've gone out and bought myself a new pair of stainless steel bolts, which I've now cleaned up the head on, so that looks a lot better. Certainly a great improvement, so we'll get that. And now there's the foot pegs back on the bike, and I must say that new stainless bolt looks much better than the old rusty one the bike used to have. So pity about the rusty kickstart, but I'm not sure yet what to do about that, because getting things re-chromed just takes forever, and I don't have forever, so I'm not sure what to do about that now. Maybe just leave it for the time being, but we'll see. And now it's time to fit the inner plastic mudguard, which goes just like this. It's got 2 little wings on the sides there, which slot into a mount on the frame. Very simple. And then here at the back of the mudguard, it bolts on here. And of course I've got new stainless steel fasteners to mount it to the frame. So let's just get that in place. There we go, that's better. And next I should be fitting this. And this is the rear part of the rear mudguard. As you can see, it's chrome, it's metal, it's quite heavy, but in my case it's been quite badly damaged. It's got a big crack in it here at the bottom, it's quite rusty on top here, and it's very rusty on the inside. So I don't really want to be fitting this back on the bike. So therefore, I'm going to make my own version. And so to that end, I bought this. This is a rear lamp from a Kawasaki, let's see, ZR7. It's also the same as a Z6R, ZX636, ZX9RC, whatever. So yes, I do like this particular lamp. I've used it twice before on two of my other bikes, and I think it's really neat, and it works really well with the Kawasaki Z650 rear ducktail. So it's going to fit something like that. But still, we've got this bit here we need to do something about. So got a bit of cardboard engineering here. So we'll get this made in stainless steel plate, maybe 1 mil, something like that, and then we'll cut it out. It'll go something like that, bolt like this. So we'll bolt it here, this will be straight, it'll then be bent to come down here like so. We'll bolt to these two mounts, and then this bit here can be cut back as required to mount the rear number plate. And so I've now mounted the tailpiece to the bike temporarily, so I can see how it looks with this ZR7 rear lamp in place. So it should end up looking something like that. Fits really well underneath this tailpiece. So now what I've got to do is make a bracket to mount this lamp in round about that position, and I think it should look pretty damn good when the bike's finished. And so here's the cardboard template I took to Jeff Welch's place yesterday, and here's a stainless steel version I've just collected. So I just drilled it and bent it, and it fits the bike pretty well. So now with that done, I've got to concentrate on trying to fit that new rear lamp. And here is that rear lamp. As you can see, it's got 3 mounting points, 2 at the bottom and 1 at the top. So I've got to make some kind of bracket to pick up from those mounting points, and in turn mount to this area of the frame. So I've got a choice. I've got these 2 mounts here on the frame, which I used to mount the tail section, and I've also got these 2 bolts here. So I don't really want to use these 2 existing mounts, because if I use them, every time I want to move or remove the tail section, the lamp would come off with it, which is no good. So it's going to have to use these 2 mounts here. So it's quite an involved shape, 5 holes, and quite an involved shape. Because it's all very close together, there's not much room to manoeuvre. And so first, let me go and fit the tail section, and we can work out the height this lamp needs to be at. And so here's the Mark 1 template made in cardboard. Very crude for now, but never mind. So I think what will happen is we'll bend it like that, and then drill 2 holes in this stainless steel plate, put some spaces behind it so that we can move this rear lamp backwards by however much I want. So it'll be something like that. And so I found some 1.1mm stainless steel plate to make my new bracket from. I've drilled the 3 holes and crudely shaped what I need. So I'm just going to do a quick test fit now to see how things look. It's going to end up looking something like that. So once I've finished shaping the back of this thing, I'm then going to bend this lower part, bend it this way to get the angle that I need. Then all I've got to do is drill 2 holes in this, 2 holes in here. I might need to use a spacer in between, but hopefully not, and that should be the rear lamp mounted just right. And so that's about as far as we can go today, and indeed for this week. So we're now at the end of week 4 of my restoration build, and I hope to have the bike back on its wheels by the end of week 5, because my new rims are due to arrive any day now from Italy. And when they turn up, then I'll quickly build up the wheels, get the tyres on, and we can hopefully get a rolling chassis pretty damn quick. I'm still waiting on Jeff to finish off the machine work to fit the Brembo caliper to the front forks. That turns out to be not quite as simple as I first imagined. I've also got a few more things going on right now. I'm getting some special parts made for the bike, which I'm not seen yet, so that's all ongoing at the moment. So yeah, it's all going okay. Now, I was hoping to fit the carbs this week, but had a problem because I ordered brand new inlet rubbers and clasps and so on, and they turned up, and when I tried them out, they don't fit. They're a little bit too big, so I think these are probably for a Z1 or a Z1000 and not for a Z650. Whether I've ordered them incorrectly or not, I don't know, but no doubt they'll come in handy for something else. So now I've got to reorder them for next week. So yeah, I think that's about it now. Also, of course, I've fitted some new stainless fasteners on the engine. Still a lot more to go, but for example, the cam cover's now bolted down with its new fasteners. That's fine. I didn't mention that before. And there's still an awful lot of work to do on the engine, and indeed for the rest of the bike. But for this week, that's it. So thanks for watching, and cheers.